Well, yep. Yeah, laugh, because it's that kind of game. They say may all your pain be champagne, famous Kanye lyric, but this is like getting hit in the head with a champagne bottle. This is.
I thought we was going to start with just the intro hit. There's just silence and us staring back and forth at each other.
I felt it. That's doing nothing for the listeners on, wherever you're listening to get your podcast,
Amazon,
Apple,
Google.
Amazon, Spotify.
YouTube,
you get it. You feel me, YouTube. YouTube, you are feeling me. Welcome to the Sixers Talk podcast, though. Brought to you by Wilmington University, Wilm Works, Danny Pommells, Ben Berry. And this is one of those podcasts where you got to air it out, man. You got to bite the bullet and just tackle what happened here with the 76ers, because this 112-88 Game 7 loss in Boston, this is one of those where you can't even talk trash or borderline don't even want to wear your Sixers gear type of vibes. Like that you're almost at that point where you're ashamed to wear the gear after they had a chance to close it out in Game 6 Thursday, go to Boston for Game 7, and you're hoping for this epic only game on the basketball slate, hoping for this epic Game 7 that you'll be talking about and whatnot, and the Sixers embarrass you and get the doors blown off them in the third quarter. They were down 3 at halftime, bro. Down 3 at halftime, end up losing 112-88.
Danny, down 3 at halftime. They scored at 8:02. Harden made a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't score again until 1:39 left in the third quarter. Embarrassing. If Stephen A was on here, he'd be using all sorts of words that I'm sure he knows, but preposterous, blasphemous, all that. It was sickening. It was disgusting to see so. And we talked about it on this podcast before, after the Hawk series. Other podcasts talk about it, local radio. It's the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Blue collar, we just want our teams to try hard. That's all we like. If you go out there, you play good defense, but Tatum, Brown, and Horford, Smart, just making impossible shots. It stinks. We're not going to like Boston anymore, but like they earned it. I'm not saying they didn't earn it today, but looking at the body language is bad early.
It was.
The walking up and down, not diving for balls. Some effort just letting people blow by them. And there was nearly, I'm not going to say there was zero effort, but there was nearly no effort on the court.
It was in the first half, which was really the weird thing about it is Tatum goes for 25 in the first half. He was on fire as he hadn't been, we talked about in the previous podcast. He had started so poorly in games 4, 5, and 6.
Was that Tatum?
It was Tatum.
It looked like Michael Jordan at times.
Bro, he was looking like Himothy, Hemi Neutron.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was really that third quarter where he really erupted. He ends up 6 of 10 for 3, 17 to 28 from the floor for the 51 points. But
most points in the Game 7 in NBA history.
But it was just embarrassing the way that he went nuts in the first half and scored almost half their points, and you're only down 3. I feel like there was something there to build on. Harden and Embiid had played really poorly in the first half. Tobias Harris ends up being your leading scorer at 19 points.
I can't even cover Tobias.
Maxey at 17 points, and then Embiid at 15, and then Harden at 9. There might have been someone that scored more than Harden. I'm not even looking at the box scores going off the top of my head, but listen, bro. PJ Tucker. Look,
who had 10 in the first.
He was looking like a playoff PJ with the ripped jersey and all that. I was feeling, bro, first half, I thought we were in it. They're not going to lie. They had us in the first half. Not going to lie. They had us in the first half. But that third quarter, man, like you said, the body language.
The Sixers came up shorter than Kevin Hart. That's what someone said me. Shorter than Kevin Hart.
But you came over to me while I was doing something else for NBC, and you were like, bro, I think that turning point was the flagrant foul on Jaylen Brown that Harden had. Did you say that to me?
That wasn't me.
Oh, that wasn't you?
Me. I take credit for it, though.
Somebody said that to me. I was like,
was it Doug?
That was still in the second quarter, though. So that turns out that wasn't even the turning point. Yeah. They survived that. That whole Jaylen Brown, offhand smacking him in the face. They survived that. And they survived that Niang nonsense.
I was shocked he didn't get ejected for that.
I'll be honest. What was that about?
Not saying I'm not saying it's dirty or anything like that, but he wasn't in play. He grabbed a player that was in play.
So Mark Jackson kind of defended him, saying that has happened. That has gone on many. I didn't
hear that.
A player falls into the bench, and he's trying to get up and get back on D. Maybe they hold him a little longer. But
he's like on top of another player, like
right.
Niang is like
it was
reaching.
A little obvious.
It looked like, and
this ain't 1990 where cameras weren't as prolific and everywhere like they are now. So they can see everything.
I really thought Niang was going to get ejected for that. I was surprised that Brown still got a technical for it. Like they said, because of taunting, if he didn't stop and say anything, it would have went
right.
Nothing would have happened.
So I don't know exactly what he said, but how would you react if you're trying to go back on D? Some dude's grabbing your leg, like
it.
But all that to say, man, they survived all of that to come out in the third quarter and just look like a JV team against the Celtics. And you mentioned the tough shot making. Yeah, Tatum was making some tough shots. Jaylen Brown and Horford and Marcus Smart and Brown, those were all like open shots to me.
Right.
But I feel like I'm rambling, bro. I'm a little salty, a little disappointed.
You're clearly salty.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you this: who you want me to go off on first? We can pick a player.
Well, let's start with Embiid. Let's start with Embiid, bro.
4-16 from the MVP. All that whining about the MVP for the last year plus. 4-16 in big games. I know he was injured. I know he wasn't 100%, but he was out there. And if you're out there, you got to perform.
And leave it all on the floor, man.
Leave it on the court. Early
defensively,
in the game.
he was there. He was there defensively.
Early. Not throughout. Like that third, he stopped trying to get blocks, boxing people out.
Well, it was a lot. They were doing a lot of perimeter shooting, so maybe that. But that 21-3 run, you got to figure out a way to slow down what they're doing or something. If you're the MVP, bring the guys around, rally the troops, like whatever has to be said.
4-6 in a game 7 and closeout game. We didn't even mention this on the last pod where end of the game he didn't call for the ball once. They didn't go to him either. And I hate to say it, like all that whining about the MVP and the reason you couldn't give it to Jokic because he shrinks in the playoff, just seeing Jokic put up 50-point triple doubles and give it the Suns 6 games straight.
Well, it's a regular season award. So
it is. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. It's a regular season award, but people use that as a justification to vote for Embiid and to come up this small. He didn't produce. He did not produce. And at some point, fans, the ownership, the front office, it happened again in the playoffs. Outside of the bubble year, he's come up in deciding games small.
Yeah,
it's starting to become a narrative.
No, definitely. And these are, for lack of a better term, like these are make or break games. Like these are legacy defining games. These are games where, when you get into those arguments with your friend of the other team and you try to bring up how dominant Embiid was and the fact that, whatever he brings to the floor and MVPs and all, it was like, bro, and then they come back at you with like, what did he do in game 7 against Boston? Like, and then you're like you can't say anything because he didn't show up. He didn't do MVP type of things. He wasn't dominant in any way. He wasn't dominant rebounding. He wasn't dominant. I think he did get to a few balls and block a few shots that were probably buckets for the Celtics, but and you got to give him credit for that. But the impact that you think that would have in igniting something on the offense or
he didn't play like an MVP.
He didn't play like an MVP, and that's disappointing in and of itself. And it just makes all of the, trash talk and the trolling and all that stuff not as endearing or cute or funny, as much as we've enjoyed, his personality and getting to know Joel. It comes down to winning basketball games and being there when the moments count. And he just wasn't there, bro. Didn't show up.
He wasn't there. 8 rebounds. 2 blocks? You did say a couple blocks. 4 turnovers. And a lot of those turnovers were just unforced, if you ask me. It wasn't like it was amazing defense, just dropping the ball, not just being reckless with the ball. It was just disgusting to watch.
Are we not giving Al Horford enough credit? It seemed like he was the equalizer. Like,
no, bro, Embiid just didn't like. You were in the newsroom with me. Amy Fadol, shout out to her Sixers pre and post game host, said it looked like he wanted no part of Al Horford, who has played Embiid well throughout Embiid's career. But Embiid wanted no part of Al Horford out there.
But Al Horford, is that what's standing between us and the championship? Is that what we're going to allow?
That's what's standing between the Sixers and just a conference finals appearance, whether he's on the team or not.
Al Horford, man, what a bitter pill to swallow, and to get to this point and to have that happen with Al Horford. But so it was all this speculation and stuff about, oh, they lose and B might demand a trade and all that. You can't demand a trade from a performance like that.
Yeah,
like,
you can't.
No,
Furkan demanded a trade and he don't even play.
Yeah, but this is Joel Embiid. That's not even funny. I'm not laughing at that. That's but I'm like Embiid. I feel like Embiid is more of the Damian Lillard ilk, where he is going to be loyal to the team that drafted him and took a chance on him, particularly when he was injured when they drafted him and went through all of this process and whatnot. And I think, what are we, 10 years removed from the process now? 10 years removed, bro.
10 years from the start of it, I will say.
Yeah,
from the start of the process, as long as Embiid is on
Sam
the team.
Hinkie. Sam Hinkie was introduced 10 years ago.
So, and you said like Embiid is that Dame Lillard, though. I've never seen Dame just not give it his all out there on the court like that. Yeah,
I'm sure there's something I could look back on if we did some psychoanalytics of all of his body language and everything else. It just, Embiid's easy to spot out there and he's gigantic. So it's like you can see him every time down the floor, whether he's running, jogging, walking or whatever. It was just weird, man, seeing him get the ball and having a player one-on-one like that and get stifled. It just was weird to keep seeing that over and over again.
Even though I didn't like it from Al Horford or Robert Williams, but I could see it happening. I think it's inexcusable when it was Marcus Smart. I think that's inexcusable. Marcus Smart is 2 inches taller than me.
And he's so annoying, man. He's just in the ref's ear every time. Every time he's in the ref's ear, debating and trying to jockey for more calls and things like that. But let's move on to Hart.
Okay.
You and I did look at his game 7 numbers before the podcast and during the game, and the numbers weren't all that scary.
Great.
They weren't great, but they weren't as, triple double with turnovers type of vibe. But there was like a 3 out of 4 year stretch where
his field goal percentage outside of his first game 7, all 41% or lower.
But it's not like it's like, oh, this is the reason they lost. Now today, I do feel like he was the reason that they lost.
I like, as much as he shoulders a lot of blame, that was on everybody. I can't say.
But when you look at the series, though, they only won when he was playing at his best. They won 2 out of the 3 games they won. He was playing at his best, and old school version of Harden over 40 points. He goes out today and scores 9 points. You have no chance of winning. There is no chance of winning if he's scoring 9 points. You just had no chance. So he looked out of rhythm. He didn't quite look like he looked like he was just begging for calls all the time. He spends more time, instead of getting back on defense with the whiny ref face.
He looked like someone that checked out previously, like game 6 last year against Miami. He looked like someone that's checked out.
3 of 11, bro. What did Jalen Rose said? Shooting these concert dates, man.
Concert dates.
3 of 11.
So, and
1-5.
It wasn't good, but it's not like anyone played fantastic. So I can't put that.
Bro, he didn't reach double digits. I can't just act like that. That's not a big factor in the fact that they lost. And let alone he has, he's gonna machine gun dribble the heck out of the ball, and it doesn't quite get other people involved and things like that. Like, you can stomach all that if the shots are going in, if he's creating for others. Like, you lead the league in assists. You only have 7 assists and 5 turnovers. You shoot 3 of 11, 1 of 5 from 3. You only have 9 points. Like, to me, like, there was only like you could have got Furkan Korkmaz in the game to do that.
I thought they should have put Korkmaz instead of just let him get run for longer. But I mean, he was minus 30 in the plus minus. Maxey minus 31 and Embiid minus 28. Like the three best players played awful. Like Maxey could have played better.
Maybe he could have played better. I don't think he was awful, but he could have played better.
I thought he was awful. I thought the whole team was awful outside of PJ Tucker in the first quarter.
All right, more to get to, man. We'll talk PJ Tucker, Tobias Harris, a little more Maxey, and of course Doc Rivers here coming up, as well as a question that I think is pertinent pertaining to the Sixers. Would you rather get blown out like you did against the Celtics or lose in a last-second shot like they did against Kawhi in 2019? So think about that. Me and Ben will discuss it in a bit. But, of course, we're brought to you by Wilmington University. Wilmington University and students are in the game, upskill in fields like cybersecurity, fintech, healthcare, and education in person or online. Get in the game at Wilmington University. Find us at wilmu.edu. Injured for over 70 years, Lundy Law has been the #1 personal injury law firm in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. Their services are exemplary. Their results are exceptional. Call 1-800-LUNDY-LAW to get the money you deserve. It's time to rush to new rewards at Rivers Casino. Now there's a whole new way for you to earn, redeem, and level up your rewards. Get your new Rush Rewards card and get more out of your game at Rivers Casino, Philadelphia. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Sixers head into the offseason with a ton of question marks, man, as they try to finally get over the hump next year for the first time since 2001 and reach the Eastern Conference or NBA Finals. They haven't beaten Boston in a series since 1980-2. It ain't a rivalry if one team keep getting their ass whooped, bro. It ain't a rivalry. That's not a rivalry, bro. They can't beat them in the regular season if Embiid doesn't go for over 50 or they get like some last-second shot or whatever. It's not a rivalry, bro. They can't beat them in the playoffs. They've lost in the bubble. They lost outside of the bubble. It's not a rivalry, bro. I live with a Celtics fan. I got to go home to this.
You decided to marry Celtics fan. Shout out to Mrs. Pommells, who I've never met. Happy Mother's Day when she listens. Happy Mother's Day to
enough about her. Enough.
So no, like
she's getting enough accolades.
It's not a rivalry because the Sixers haven't held up their end of the bargain in this so-called rivalry. The Celtics have eliminated the Sixers 3 times from the playoffs in like the last 5 years, maybe 6. It's not a rivalry. I don't want to hear about the rivalry.
Stupid green jerseys.
And
they were singing nah, hey, goodbye to us.
They was chanting beat Miami with like 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Oh, man.
So before we get into like, would you rather lose in a last second shot?
We'll save that for later. All
right, you say that for later. Can we get to Doc Rivers now?
Oh, you were gonna? No, I want to give him some Tucker Harris.
All right, Tucker Harris.
Playoff PJ, man. I was feeling that energy, bro. I felt like, you wait all the regular season and his role and the amount of minutes he plays, and then you get him on the court in the game 7. I felt like he was making a difference out there. You got a dude like that to go 3 of 6 from 3.
4 of 7 from the field.
Come on, man. I thought playoff PJ.
Yeah, that's all great. Whatever.
He's going to be on the team next year.
In a close game, that's great. It
was close, and he was showing up. After that, everybody.
A year ago,
yeah,
they lost. They had zero toughness. And I said on this very podcast, the Sixers need somebody with some heart, some toughness, some nastiness.
Oh, it was your idea?
Other people said that. I'm not saying like I called up Maury like, hey, yo, get PJ out of Miami. No, I'm not saying it. Just saying they needed an adult in the room, someone that brings some toughness. And yes, he added 11 points. And he chipped in, even though that's not his main role.
Are you meh? Are you going meh?
I guess I'm disappointed that like his toughness didn't rub off. He wasn't on guys to go harder. Like
Montrezl Harrell had Embiid by the jersey at the beginning of the game. He was in his ear. That looked like Embiid was like, yo, bro, you don't get off of me.
You don't get off me. I'm checked out.
Embiid looked like he was waiting for him to let go.
So, yeah, it was that. Like, stat sheet-wise, yes, he played well. On the court, he played well. But the thing I want from PJ Tucker is the leadership and checking other guys. That didn't happen.
Bro, this is just difficult. It just makes next year's regular season such a drain, man. Because like all you're doing is waiting until the playoffs next year. Again, man. It's just all means nothing except for the playoffs.
And you brought up Tobias Harris, like, yeah, he had 19 points.
Borderline discussion there about whether or not he played a good game. I thought that, listen, after Tatum blocked his shot at the rim last game, he went and dunked that thing in the open court early on. All the good vibes came in the first half. So anything after that,
I guess he played an okay game. He was 1 of 7 from beyond the arc.
You probably feel the same way about Maxey then. If you feel like he just played an okay game,
okay
like
game at best. Like I'm more frustrated with his previous game, which we didn't mention that he had 2 points, and I looked for it. I didn't put 100% effort into it, like I asked these players to give on the court, but I was trying to figure out what's the most amount of points a max player has scored in a playoff game, because he had 2 points in a playoff game.
Oh, the least amount.
The least amount, yes, the least amount. And yeah, he scored 17 more in Game 7. But how many of those points mattered? Like, where was he when things started to get out of control?
Yeah, and he wasn't – there was a couple of opportunities he had against timely shots.
Yeah.
Like, if he could have hit some of those shots where, like, Boston started going on a run, if, like, you could hit – like, he couldn't hit those shots where Boston was hitting a lot of those shots. You know, the open variety, Tatum with the contested stuff. The in transition, catch and shoot, it was all there. So let's get to Rivers. Let's get to Doc Rivers. He gets outcoached by Joe Mazzulla. Mazzulla goes to that
first-year head coach.
Goes to that their death lineup with Williams and Horford both in the starting lineup. That pays dividends. I wouldn't necessarily say it was about coaching here in Game 7. It was more just about execution for the players. I mean, Tatum goes to 51, has almost half their points in the first half. That ain't necessarily coaching.
I will say it is coaching when things started to look like it was starting to go bad, and Doc Rivers didn't have an answer, or he didn't cook up anything.
Yeah, there was nothing.
That's when the coaching aspect came in. And, like,
so
Boston looked ready. The Sixers did not. Boston looked ready. Philly did not.
That's on the players, man.
But, you know, so that's on the players, but the leader of the team is the coach. So if part of that falls on him as well. And it's not like they didn't close out in Game 6 and they looked bad in Game 6. They looked bad last year against Miami. They didn't close out against Atlanta. Like, some of this, a lot of this falls on him as well. You have the 3-2 series lead. That you add that to the leads that Doc Rivers has had in the playoff series. He's 6-10 in Game 7s. Like,
so he was on the hot seat before this for you. Is this the end of the Doc Rivers era?
He was on a hot seat when he accepted the job because I wanted Sam Cassell. But I was, when we did those pods, I said it didn't look like the Sixers had a plan.
Would that make you feel like they can move to the next level if he's not here?
I feel like that is one step. I think you look at this roster, see how poorly constructed it is, and you make some major changes. Maybe that's being okay with letting Harden walk. Maybe that's moving Tobias Harris. Maybe,
I'm not. I had enough of the Harden experiment. I'm easily letting him walk.
Yeah, easily letting him walk.
Yeah,
and like I know it's 2020 vision, but we were both fans of making a move for Halliburton.
I just don't know how they retool really. Letting Harden walk. Like, how do you replace what he brought to the team?
Maybe a sign-in trade, but I doubt that's happening.
I mean, this isn't the pod to try to figure all that out now, but I'm happy letting Harden walk, and I'm happy letting Doc Rivers go as well, because I feel like you can't do much worse. Trying to bring in another one of these high-profile coaches. So many people want to take Monty Williams. I'd be fine if they promoted Sam Cassell.
Yeah.
There's definitely other coaches out there who have chops that you could bring in and you wouldn't miss a beat. But
yeah, I'd be okay with a major reshuffle of the front office as well. I think this is from the top down.
The front office?
Front office, yes.
All right. To me, it's more effort based. I don't know.
It is effort based.
Yeah.
But like, who put the roster together?
But you don't know how these players are gonna, like, Embiid sucked. Like, that's you can't get mad at the front office because your best player wasn't, the MVP wasn't up to snuff.
Oh,
like,
I can get upset with them for bringing for the Tobias Harris trade, or like.
But I think that's water under the bridge. Like, you've already
Not when I got to go out there and watch him score 2 points in a game 6 or not make the shots that you just mentioned in the game 7.
I don't know if that's on the front. I would just move on from him. I don't know if I want to spend another offseason trying to rehash the head coach and the front office and the second best player in your team. That's a lot.
If you get a new front office, I think a lot of other things is happening.
Because the objective is to win the championship, right?
It is.
You can't just change all those pieces.
Do you think this team is close to winning the championship?
I think Josh Harris just bought the Washington Commanders, and that's what that is.
So, all right. So back to Doc.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it, like how, like, kind of like not direct, but like, I don't want to say full of himself, but the way he answers questions, like you want to ask Pop that and things like
a little nose in his air. I'm fine. Nose in the air. I'm fine. I'm fine. Moving on from Doc.
To me, it seems like he knows there's something with his contract. Like, yo, I'm being back, so I'm not worried about.
I don't feel like he had as much of that this year, but I do feel like if they let him go, he'll probably get a job somewhere else.
Which whoever makes that decision should be fired for malpractice.
I think he'll get a job somewhere else. I mean, he's one of the winningest coaches of all time, and the experience, I think, is appealing to other teams because there's so many teams who haven't even won championships in the NBA and so many teams who haven't even gone this deep into the playoffs that would love to have someone who had that type of experience. And maybe a younger roster might, I don't know, but forget about that. But yeah, let's move on from Doc Rivers. And the front office remains to be seen. I mean, yeah, you could group them all together and try to find another outlet. I don't think they're going to move on from Daryl Morey because I think that his maneuvering and his connections are worth keeping, where Doc Rivers maybe just doesn't have what it takes to be the coach that leads a team to the Eastern Conference Finals anymore. But
that's fair.
What about this topic though? The Sixers get blown out. By the third quarter, you're making your off-season plans. You're trying to figure out, who stays and who goes, all that stuff. Or would you rather it be sweating it out until the last possible second and dealing with a last second shot that either makes or misses? What's your preference of how you would prefer your team to lose? Because we've experienced both of them and the Kawhi Leonard shot in 2019 and him sending Embiid home crying and us having to watch that in perpetuity for the rest of our lives, or you kind of just swallow the bitter pill and get over with the blowout.
I'd rather the close game, like sports are supposed to be enjoyable. So I take the close game if it's a good.
Rather than making you want to.
Yeah, like so.
Running the oncoming traffic.
I know someone that used to be an Atlanta Falcons fan.
Oh, man.
They
stopped being a fan after the Super Bowl?
Before the Super Bowl.
Okay.
They stopped being a fan after Michael Vick. That's when they said you got the Michael Vick thing was last straw to fighting the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
They had someone I can't remember the player, but they stopped the game when he broke 1,000 yards rushing for the season. Celebrated the balloons and confetti coming down from the rafters, and the game ended, and he only lost yards from that point on. The season ended with less than 1,000 yards.
I don't remember who that was.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
That's wild, right?
That is super
wild. When they lost to the
that's the loser's mentality.
When the Falcons lost to the Broncos in the Super Bowl, I forget who on the Falcons. They won NFL Man of the Year that season, and NFL Man of the Year playing in the Super Bowl also caught. I believe the Super Bowl was in Miami. Caught picking up a night worker before the Super Bowl.
Oh, was that Eugene Robinson?
I believe that's who I was thinking, but I didn't want to say it and be wrong.
Yeah.
So it was when Deion Sanders was on the team and they were playing the 49ers, and on the other, 49ers had Jerry Rice. Instead of having Deion Sanders defend Jerry Rice, and Jerry Rice scored 6 touchdowns in the game. So when the Michael Vick thing happened, he's like, I'm off this narcotic.
So all that Falcons misery.
Yeah, he's like, this isn't bringing me fun anymore.
How does that bring us back to the
Sixers? So what I'm saying is, if the team isn't good and you just get to this point and they're blowing games like this, the sports is supposed to be fun. You're supposed to enjoy it. I wouldn't enjoy dealing with this year after year. Losing that close game 7 on a wild shot, I could be like, that was a fun ride. This was a fun game. Nothing about game 7 against Boston was fun.
I feel like if we're talking about the same result, like we're talking about, game 7, second round, not getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, I'd rather get blown out, bro. I got to watch that Embiid crying face forever. I got to watch that Kawhi 4 bounce shot forever. I got to watch, any and everything, the Raptors winning the championship after that. That's part of the narrative of them and surviving the Sixers and the bounces and Embiid and them contesting it and him, we've seen it. I'm just rehashing in my head, but I'd rather just get blown out. It's just like the guillotine, just off with his head. You just there's no slow burn to it. And while I see both sides, I see both sides, I just would rather get blown out rather than all the residual things that come from a last second shot like that.
I think it's more fun. A blowout.
I felt really salty after that Kawhi shot for a long time.
I guess if the game starts at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., I'd rather a blowout. I can go to sleep early and get a full night's rest.
Right.
But
who wants to stay up late just to get their heart? But if it's
a 1 o'clock tip off or a 3:30 tip off, you're gonna be up anyway. Enjoy it. The game gonna be a blowout. You're gonna leave and go grocery shopping early.
But
you gonna do some yard work.
But when you lose on the last second shot, there's still more day. At least at night, I can just go to bed or whatever. There's more day to rehash and the misery of it. But I guess we can go on and on. This is a circular argument. But Ben,
yes,
this offseason is going to be crazy.
It is.
I just don't see a way that the Sixers don't try to be better than they were, and all that goes into doing that. It has to be a full deep dive into making this team better. I'm talking about any and everything, no stone unturned.
You know who I blame for this?
Who?
And I mean this facetiously. I want these guys.
I thought there was going to be some answers.
Oh, no. Sixers Nation on Twitter.
Why?
June 30th, the day after my birthday, June 30th, 2019. I hope the beaches and warm weather are worth winning 20 to 30 games a year, Jimmy Butler. Would say see you at the playoffs, but probably won't be doing that either. Enjoy the rest of your career long vacation. This will be their 3rd Eastern Conference Finals since then. I blame them.
I blame them too.
Yeah.
Sixers Nation, it's your fault. Folks, we'll see you. Hope you enjoy the rest of the NBA season. We're a little disappointed here. At least I am. Ben's a little upbeat, but I'm a little defeated.
I know I'm upset, but I got to bring energy to the pod because I'm a professional. Yeah. But we'll be with you all off season updates. Take a small break. Let Noah get his one back under him.
Yeah, check out his work on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com. Shouts to Noah on an incredible season of work, and thanks for all of his contributions to the pod. And thank you for listening. I'm a little messed up. You want me to sign us off? Yeah, can you please?
Thank you, Sixers fans. That's Danny Pommells. You can follow him at DPommells NBCS. I'm Ben Berry. Follow me at letter M, Ben Berry. On social media, for Danny Pommells, I'm Ben Berry. This was the Sixers Talk podcast presented to you by Wilmington University. Wilmington Works.